maybe, just maybe, you can take down KT, push yourself to that game 4 on these picks. Maybe that opens up that wrench in the works that you need.
Look, I'm not saying it would be the most KT thing to go 2-0 up, get everyone excited, and then lose in a reverse sweep, but that would be the most KT thing I've ever heard of, as we see the Ambessa banned away by CFO and an immediate Sion pick here for Perfect.
Yeah, Sion is up, and I feel like you have got to have some sort of a plan. I have been kind of preaching. I'm a big fan of Cho'Gath as a potential answer. Mord has been the answer of the tournament. So I was thinking something like that, or even if you want to go crazy, go like Fiora, I would be down for whatever. Whatever you think is the best counter, bring it out. Mord, I think, definitely can work. But the problem with Sion is always that not only are you so resilient, but all of your basic abilities are AoE wave clear. So it's really hard to actually create a meaningful advantage. And Rek'Sai, to me, is just a much worse Sion. So I don't feel like this is it. Unless they have something else cooking, I truly do not understand leaving Sion up.
It is also taking the Rek'Sai in this rotation rather than trying to lock in something strong for yourself, like that mid jungle, or even trying to open up something spicy for Kaiwing in that bottom side of the map. So I am curious what the next rotation is. I imagine it will be a jungle pick for JunJia, but the Caitlyn actually going to be locked in.
Maybe just Caitlyn Karma or something.
Go for prio bot lane and then play beef tanks in front of it. HongQ loves a good Swain game, so maybe you just play beefy front line with an AD carry that can do the damage from the back line. Caitlyn, not the hyper scaler, but really good at sieging and does have a lot of damage in the late game.
The only thing I'm worried about, though, is that KT have been able to find success mid and early game. So if you're hitting this trough of where Caitlyn hasn't really hit her power spike, that's really where you are going to struggle in this game if you don't have something to facilitate that kind of mid-game point.
And immediately KT answer with the Alistar Ziggs. They know that they are going to get pushed in that bot lane, but as soon as the Ziggs gets towards that forbidden chapter, he can actually just wave clear for days. Chuck out the explosive minefield, a couple of bouncing bombs. The wave's gone before you can actually siege effectively.
And we do know it can be a flex, right? This could just be bot lane. Is just we're just going to actually just wave clear infinitely and try to make the life difficult of this Caitlyn. Bard, would be one of these strong laners here, especially early game against Alistar, who is a pretty pitiful laner that would allow Kaiwing to have both some prio in the lane and also get out on the maps and potentially, create a little bit of havoc, which could be beneficial for them.
I do like that thought of swapping the Ziggs down into that bottom side, because honestly I think opening up like an AD mid laner for BDD could also be clutch here. We've seen the Yone come out a couple of times, and if you want to try and have that access to backline, that can work out. Caitlyn, though, of course, going to be very strong when it comes towards both avoiding some of that pressure and also just clearing out these mid waves. So if you opt into this kind of 1-4 split push, it may be easier for CFO to manage.
I mean, deokdam has played the Ziggs 7 times so far this year. BDD has not yet played it, but of course he could. But I am just kind of assuming that they're saying, you know what, you're going for Caitlyn. If that's going to be your big swing, we're just going to neutralize you. And then Ziggs can be so effective when you have carries like the Caitlyn. Alistar's going to be flying in, Sion's going to be flying in, Ziggs ult is going to go on your head, and it becomes so hard to actually play out the fight from there. And I am getting a little bit worried if there's not any more spice than this for the CFO draft.
Yeah, especially when you're already from CFO trying to ban away more of that dive, because they kind of realize like something like a Hwei here probably going to be the last ban. Actually, the Yone, because Hwei's banned on that first rotation, because it is a case of just more of that backline pressure that you're trying to nullify, and Yone taken away. Like, it's very difficult for CFO given the current circumstance.
I do really like the Sylas ban here. It is something that would give them some aggression. It's also Alistar, which is one of those ultimates that are so key.
Big respect to HongQ as well, because in the finals against Team Secret Wales, he outplayed Histo in the Sylas versus Zed 1v1. The Zed was so fed, and it was like kind of his Faker versus Ryu moment, his moment that he really announced himself as the best player in the LCP. So now, getting with the Sylas, getting with the Pantheon, you can see KT saying, okay, we'll make sure that you can't be giga tanky by stealing the Alistar ult, but we'll also make sure you don't have long-range follow-up engage to something like a Tempered Fate.
Is it? I mean, you could obviously flex Rek'Sai to jungle if you really want, but I don't think that's likely.
Just Kindred?
Kindred would be fun. I mean, Kindred to me can be one of those really powerful scaling picks. And you are going to need a lot of consistent damage to be able to get through this Sion, but
I was so excited.
Standard kind of at the end of the day. So I'm not really loving what we've seen from CFO on a red side. If you're going to go red side, and then it's like your Sion counter pick is Rek'Sai, and you're blind picking your bot lane, I kind of don't really understand what they were trying to go with here?
I mean, it must be just trying to enable HongQ on something funky, right? Like, he's the last pick here to see what you can pick up. But BDD, Zoe!
I think it might be time to go to sleep for CFO.
I was going to say, if you want to play against your icon and he picks at the Zoe, HongQ, what have you got? You've been watching this man for years, and now it's his signature pick that you have to find a win over.
This is just the GOAT Zoe, and there's so much poke. I will say, consistent damage, very low for the KT side. Your damage is Ziggs and Zoe, right? Yeah, there is the Viego, but Viego is not going to work through a tank or anything like that. So it is interesting, it is comfort, but it is also not the most easy comp to pilot.
Yeah.
That being said, if you are first to the objective as KT, trying to walk in through Ziggs poke and Zoe poke is going to be an absolute nightmare. And CFO at the end of the day kind of just went with like a couple meatballs and some scaling carries, and they're going pretty standard here.
I feel that we actually, I'm not 100% sure on it, but I'm pretty sure KT played this draft when they beat JunJia. With the Zoe, with the bubbles, and then the Viego coming across. I might be misremembering, but I remember it was about the initial poke into then the Viego coming out. But I could be misremembering it as we see the first Zoe at Worlds this year. For KT, they have the initial burst damage, and then they have the Viego looking for those resets. For CFO, they have some scaling. Hwei does a lot of damage as the game goes on. They've got a bit of a tanky frontline, but so perhaps a range comp mostly?
I think what you can do as CFO, though, is fish for some nice picks, right? Like, Zoe, very strong when ahead, but if you start to fall behind and you're able to look for these, like, Bard ultimates to lock her down after she comes back out of the portal, like, they are very easy plays to make, and maybe that's how you can try and swing it. But again, if you just have this hard focus from KT on shutting down JunJia, denying them from getting any sort of leads in the early game, you can look to snowball off of, hey, we're just going to move the Ziggs around and try and take towers very quickly.
Let's get on to Summoner's Rift for the third and possibly the final game of this second quarterfinal. I must be misremembering, having a look. Oh no, they had it. It was their fourth game, but it was with a Nocturne, not with a Viego. Similar idea though. The Nocturne was there with the Paranoia. You had the Ziggs, the Zoe combination for that initial burst.
Yep, absolutely. It is that kind of 1-2 punch of the Ziggs and the Zoe, but they also did have kind of some more consistent damage, and with the Renekton, they have that Nocturne. Of course, Viego, I think, kind of slots in similarly. But maybe we'll get a bit more of a Bruiser Sion to have a bit more damage. That being said, there's not really any like super tanks over on the other side. Usually we are going to see Rek'Sai building Bruiser, and JunJia on this Skarner. Not going to be too big of an issue, I don't think. So it'll be interesting to see how they can play it out, because it's really going to be about HongQ and Doggo, I think, avoiding a lot of this poke, avoiding a lot of the damage. And Rest and JunJia, it's going to be them moving in first, trying to absorb that poke, creating space for these carries for them to be able to have a chance.
Yeah, I think JunJia's going to have his work cut out from this game. Skarner not great into a lot of range. Just the only real target that you're going to have is something like that Sion, but we'll have to see as it starts to go on. But again, I think it's more for CFO about getting JunJia access in the early game. He has been such a core part of this roster the entire time that he's been on it. And unfortunately for him this game, he has been the target of KT consistently and hasn't managed to find that impact.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very difficult because there's a lot of tools to actually disrupt what the Skarner is trying to do as well. You're looking at Headbutt away, you're looking at Satchel, you're looking at trying to drive straight in on a Zoe who can sleep you. It's very, very difficult, I think, you know, for him to be able to find these effective ganks. And then, sure, you could attack topside, but you're ganking a Sion, right? So it's going to be tough.
We've talked at length across the course of the series and on the analyst desk about, you know, you don't say you're excited about KT. You don't get too much motivation when you're talking about them, because sometimes you're worried that they're not going to be able to have as much impact as they want. 2015, knocked out in the quarterfinals. 2018, knocked out in the quarterfinals. 2023, knocked out in the quarterfinals. Often they lose to a team that either loses to the champions or are the champions, but for so long, KT have been on the brink of taking that next step, and it seems like today here in Shanghai, it is finally their time to go one step further towards the finals.
And what an impressive performance it would be. The fact that they came into LCK and did not look good. They were not able to pick up wins at the start of their group stage, but instead then getting into playoffs, they have this massive upset against JunJia, and the whole world takes notice. And unfortunately that notice is exactly where KT fans don't want it to go, as KT weren't able to continue up on that success, but a 3-0 start here at Worlds, and now potentially looking to see if they can have a 3-0 performance here against CFO.
I mean, it would make it 7 straight wins at Worlds in the game score, but for CFO, they need to find a way in. Really feels important to try to create a point of power on the map, somewhere that you can really focus on, that you can play towards. Obviously, you do have these champions like the Skarner and like the Bard that really can get active on the map, but you need somewhere to attack. You need somewhere to go. I don't think it's going to be top lane, so you really are looking at HongQ and Doggo to try to have that big standout performance. It feels like kind of all the eggs have got to be in those baskets.
I really agree with you. For CFO, it's, again, like an international where they have impressed. Last time we saw them lose a series before Worlds was back at MSI, 2-A up. And now they come back into Worlds. They impressed with the victory versus T1. And the question is, can they find that form again? Because KT have been on an absolute tear today. Like, CFO haven't played to the level perhaps they would have wanted, but you have to give credit to KT. This is probably the best performance I've seen from a 3-0 team coming back after the break, as we see a gank in the mid lane. Oh, Spectral is expecting the flash from HongQ, but he holds it and is able to walk away. He did TP back into this lane. BDD burnt both his flash and his teleport too.
But realistically, like, it's a nothing gank from Cuzz, right? He's already fully cleared out. He wanted to move back down towards his bottom side of the map. So a transitional gank that just puts some pressure on towards HongQ, and we've pretty much seen this consistently, right? The attacks from KT have been, try and get in towards the jungle. Can we burn JunJia's flash? Can we put some pressure on JunJia? Okay, we've done that. Right, let's move Peter mid. Let's move Cuzz mid. Let's try and put some pressure on HongQ. That mid jungle that we hyped up so much coming into today has been under constant threat from KT.
Really has, and they're going to try to put some pressure on this top side. Rest has the prio. Perfect is up here. You can see BDD is moving, though. He's already heading up here, so Perfect just has to delay.
Got to kill him quickly. JunJia!
Oh,
no! Look for the Yashav's impact, but he flashes over. Perfect, who flashes away. BDD has the sleepy trouble bubble, and JunJia is going to take a little nap. Underneath the tower, no one tanking it. The paddle star going wide. Still damage onto JunJia. He's able to walk his way away. In the end, an exchange of summoners.
That is heartbreaking for CFO. JunJia not able to make it happen, and honestly, lucky they managed to escape afterward. Rest doing a good job of blocking the paddle star from being able to connect onto the jungler.
Yeah, did a really good job to be able to block that up, but that is heartbreaking. JunJia, such a strong jungler here. That does feel like one of those World's nerves moments here, as he tried to flash in for the unreactable Ishtal's impact to be able to get the instant stun on the wall, but he just flashed past him and then tried to hit us with a little drift to get back into position, but couldn't quite find it. Might have been the first kill there of the game for them, and it's one that you feel like you need that momentum coming in, but someone that they have been able to depend on here at Worlds is Doggo. This guy has been having a stellar tournament. We've talked about him a lot, crushing on the Draven games, and he's going to be here on this Caitlyn when his team needs him most. I mean, he's first of all 80 carries, goal difference at 14, really high damage percentage, has been passing the eye test with flying colors. You need to get him in a winning position, because even in these last 2 games, when you think about who has been having the best individual performance for CFO, even in losses, I feel like it has mostly been him. He has been trying to find these big moments, trying to go aggressive. You think to the Corki game, you know, flashing and getting that kill. You think to the Kai'Sa game, that bot lane fight, you know, going deep against those carries and getting a couple shutdowns. If they can get him in a winning position, Doggo has the mechanics to get you across the finish line against teams of this caliber.
Especially against a composition like this from KT. This is one that wants to snowball. Zoe went ahead, incredibly strong. Zoe went behind, bloody useless. And a very similar story when you come towards the Ziggs, but deokdam has not been missing these bouncing bombs, and Doggo's hurting.
Yeah, and deokdam is level 6, so you have got to be careful. You get hit by anything else, the ult might just be your flash or your death. So Doggo gonna have to back off, which means you're gonna be losing some more minions.
Sleepy Trouble bubbled down. Peter looking for the headbutt pulverize. Spectral coming out as well will land the stun, but only onto HongQ. Kaiwing flashed away there on the Bard. Before we saw the trade in the bot side, HongQ did look for a spiraling despair in mid, and it went wide, which is the "oh" I exclaimed as we worked our way down towards bot.
But again, KT, pressure mid, opening up for deokdam on bot side, keeping him able to push in. And this is a big wave now that Doggo is losing on this bottom side. And it's because deokdam was able to hit so many of these consistently. And now Peter, how much more do they want to go for?
The Mega Inferno Bomb. Doggo is healthy enough, but a third of your HP lost just as you walk back to the lane. Kaiwing a while away from getting down here as well.
Exactly, and that early pink ward that they actually placed over by the enemy blue buff, that was Cuzz placing this ward after he did that drive-by gank in mid lane. That has been there the whole time. Yep. CFO has not been able to clear that out for quite a while, and that's giving them all this information. Peter just showed it to him.
Hey, mate, there's a ward in there. Why do you get the goal?
You know what? I respect it. He's like, we're winning a little bit too hard. Buddy, the ward.
Well, Kaiwing has to kill the ward, so he's delayed at getting to the mid lane. HongQ has to flash away with Peter collapsing. Cuzz has started up the grubs and picked up one of them so far. When he took that Chem Drake earlier on. JunJia trying to steal away one of these if he can, but he's at a numbers disadvantage right now.
But you still have that TP on deokdam, who's just gone for the reset as well, so potentially going to TP up to this fight. This is risky for a CFO.
Sleep onto HongQ. BDD doesn't have a huge amount of mana. Grubs begun again by Cuzz. The flash! Headbutt pulverize! Oh, Peter, take a medal, take a prize, impaled under the tower, but he takes the enemy mid laner down with him. Rest trying to come in from the side. He's going to get slept as well. A perfect nap for KT to collapse as deokdam takes the kill. Kaiwing chased out, make it 3. KT secure the feats of warfare.
KT have woken up and chosen violence, picking off members of CFO everywhere on the map, and now they're going to move over towards their prize of these void grubs.
And again, it's one of these situations where CFO is not respecting the map state. You called it out, Rob. Look at the Caitlyn. Caitlyn is locked under her tower down here on the map, and we have the Ziggs, who's going to be TPing in, adding the extra man, and just beautiful play there from Peter. Uses the W taxi, and then Q flash forward out of that, sets him up for first blood. Does lose his life, but deokdam is there. They have the extra member. They get the feats of warfare, and HongQ's just caught snoozing. He is taken down from long range. He was shopping.
They say don't meet your idols, and HongQ really wishing he hadn't on this one. BDD setting that up for the long range play from deokdam. The synergy with this composition from KT is beautiful.
I mean, the sleep into the Ziggs ult from long range. And HongQ gets taken out, and now insult to injury, more waves going to be lost here. deokdam 3-0, already so far ahead.
Temper Fate Satchel Charge down in the right position though for deokdam to get out, and he satchels away from the cupcake. Took a moment to reposition himself there. Doesn't gobble up that Yordle snap trap from Doggo.
Yeah, and CFO are trying, but they just can't quite get the plays they want. deokdam able to escape, push on that bottom side, more gold into the hands of BDD, and his goal difference this series has been through the roof. And now that you're in a position to continue this pressure, like, you can move Ziggs down to that bottom side of the map to take that turret after you push in mid. Start to threaten now and use these walls at things like the dragon, which have just spawned. And the first items are coming through very quickly for KT.
Yeah, it is really looking tough already as Kaiwing gonna get spotted and Peter's looking.
The sleep again. HongQ's gonna have nightmares. Collapse from KT. And BDD claims his second.
The best Zoe in the world, and he's showing us why. Relentless pressure here. This Rek'Sai draft just not working out at all for CFO. I mean, you look up, you gave over the Sion, you've created an 80 gold lead for the Rek'Sai at this point. It's just a nothing burger. And then down in the bot side, you have this Ziggs that was picked as an answer to this Caitlyn, and it has been just excelling throughout the entire game.
And we've talked about it so often for CFO. If JunJia and HongQ can be on the same page, they can do work, but KD have shut them down perfectly. deokdam flashes away, the headshot's not enough! The Peacemaker doesn't find its mark. JunJia flashes finally! Finds the shutdown. Cuzz now on the back foot. Ults away with that Heartbreaker. A magical journey for JunJia onto Peter, but a double blast cone will get them to safety. As JunJia might try and collapse on BDD. Ishtar's impact in, catches Peter, slams him into the wall. The rest of CFO trying to collapse, but there's the trample stun, a good impale through the wall. Cuzz able to flash away, asleep onto that Skarner. Paddlestar just short of connecting. Spiraling despair on BDD, Peter falling low. HongQ finds the kill, BDD still dashing forward with the portal, jumps in the end. CFO will back away with 2.
The Flying Oysters are not done yet. They knew that was their moment where they could put some more pressure, but HongQ needs to be careful. So Trouble Bubble doesn't land. I thought BDD might go for the flash Trouble Bubble there.
Yeah, KT were playing very aggressively in that moment. I mean, CFO pushed them out, but KT is like, you know what, we're just going to keep scrapping. They didn't want to back off to the tower. They didn't want to cede that jungle camp, so they just kept fighting, and CFO able to get something back here. But again, deokdam just pushing through mid lane constantly. Rest has been a constant up in this top lane, has been very annoying to deal with for Perfect. It is a frustrating matchup. You're locked under your tower, but Sion is still getting what Sion needs. And we look back one more time as they had to expend so much to take down deokdam.
Yeah, the fact that he barely escapes here means that then, as you say, JunJia forced to flash to make sure that he can get the kill just a pixel on towards that health bar. And at this stage, it's the right call from CFO. Just throw everything in the kitchen sink and see what you can get. And KT, they do stick around a bit too long. They're hoping they can play this slow with BDD having the lead that he has. But overextending that little bit too far actually gives the numbers advantage with CFO that moment to find some kills.
Exactly, and I mean, even with BDD around, you're still down a member. deokdam is dead. It's still a 4v3, and you're fighting it without the ultimates on Cuzz, without the ultimate on Peter, with lower health bars. So it was definitely a very aggressive look there from KT. Wanted to try to defend. Not a huge punish either way, but it is a little glimmer of hope you have to feel like there for CFO. Unfortunately, the kills going to Skarner is not what you want to see.
He's the only guy with a big gold lead for CFO, 1,000 gold ahead on JunJia, who has been the face of this league for so many years. As KT begin to push in top, the Impale from JunJia will catch out Peter, pops the Unbreakable Will, already down to half HP, Spiraling Despair is going to go back into the rest of the team. Cuzz getting slowed by it as well, but the Severing Bolt not enough to kill off the cow.
Nicely done, though, by JunJia, making a really good use of this ultimate. Pulls him in, gets the ult, gets the flash. Yes, he gets away, but they are not rolling over by any means. And if you can get that Impale, it sets up HongQ for all of his skill shots. Those become point and click. And
also just gives them this vision control in this top side if they want to play aggressive, waiting on that push from HongQ in the top side, because you've got Herald in 30 seconds. So CFO looking to see if they can capitalize on it.
Redemption onto HongQ just to top him up. CFO will really want to take this out, but now they have to look for the reset. No wards currently on Kaiwing. That's what he's going back for. Trying to get them up. Does have the Celestial opposition, whereas Peter yet to actually upgrade his World Atlas all the way. He's finished that redemption, as has Kaiwing. So in terms of warding advantage, it's a small one for CFO.
You got push on bot side and the opportunity to try and TP rest in. Still though, they weren't quite able to get the pressure the CFO wanted here. Couldn't get deep vision. Now you've got KT back out onto the map, and Peter again in a great position to just sneak some of those wards into that top side and spot out how CFO are trying to move in en masse to this top side of the map.
You can see that CFO have maintained pretty good defensive vision in their jungle. They're trying their best to actually move it forward into that river to try to be able to take control, but Cuzz and Peter have just been moving around here constantly. You know, BDD or deokdam gets pushed, then they move over as well, and non-stop just fighting over this vision. It's so hard to fight against a Zoe Ziggs if you do not know where they are.
Especially when double Hex Tech Gunblade completed. That's so much burst damage if you can hit both of those channels on towards lockdown targets, and that's exactly what KT are looking to do, just fishing for some of these bubbles on the top side, seeing if they can connect with HongQ. But KT gonna take it slow, push out the waves, and then amass onto this objective.
Yeah, Peter gonna go back, pop up those wards again, went from 1 to 4. And you have to remember as well, with the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, the next bit of magic damage you're taking is amplified, so those bouncing bombs can kind of act just like a paddle star.
Ziggs ult too. I mean,
that's my worry. Yeah.
That's kind of the real dream, is you hit that on a carry, you press R, they're either dead or they leave the fight, right? Like, there's no continuing the fight as Doggo. And, you know, in that situation, if they're going to commit that, Kaiwing is going to have to be really fast with almost defensive Bard ults, right? Because if to start off the fight, one of your carries gets hit by a sleep and Ziggs is going to throw out his ult, you have got to be right there to try to deny it. But that takes really quick reactions.
And Herald no longer the target for either of these two teams, as KT set up vision around the Drake. Will be soul point for them, and an Infernal Soul with Ziggs and Zoe is not something you want to give over easily. Already down to 4K. Peter acting as a bouncer. Rest trying to get in. JunJia going forward as well, but a good pulverize from Peter. The Drake stopped with a Temper Fate. The Sleepy Trouble Bubble not going to hit on Doggo. The smite from JunJia finds it, and Impale as well. Spiraling Despair for KT is perfect. Forced to flash away. CFO find the fight, find 2. Rest dives onto the backline, gets a double knock. JunJia still looking for the chase. A satchel charge out into the flash. Edge of Ishtar won't go any further with that Ishtar's impact. An ace in the hole won't be enough, but Rest still on the chase onto BDD. Forces him back underneath his tower.
KT's poke is exceptional.
Look at Rest.
Poke lands, and Rest want to keep this going.
He slept. Satchel Charge's going to knock him back. Decimating smash there as well. Rest used the tunnel. He flashes back in. And Rest just slices them where they stand. He'll pay for it with his life. In the end, CFO turn their eyes towards the Herald.
Exactly. They're going to be able to use that pressure to go over towards the Herald. I mean, this is the other side of this style of composition. It is so oppressive when all your poke is hitting, but when the spells don't land, you have no consistent damage whatsoever. And watch BDD in this fight. He's kind of having this like one-on-one on the side against Doggo, but everything misses. And when those first round of spells do miss, JunJia flashes in, gets the smite, and BDD cannot hurt the front line whatsoever. The carries are untouched on the CFO side, and once CFO are in the mix, they can't be stopped.
And that's the big one, is as soon as you get this Skarner into place, as soon as this Rek'Sai can actually get onto the targets, that's where they are so terrifying. And ideally, KT don't let them get into that position. But by over-grouping at the Dragon, they open up everything for CFO. And it's just maybe give CFO that hope. Control the area, control the objectives, but Doggo...
Onslaught, Doggo has the flash and has to use it. Gets himself to safety. KT's still looking for a little bit more. Importantly, most of the gold in that last fight for CFO, who have evened out the total gold in the game, did go to their jungler and to their top laner. A Rek'Sai can do a lot of damage. Titanic Hydra complete. Tunneler as well, building up to more of those physical damage items, but it's not as much as you would like.
But for me, it's less about the gold, it's about the map control.
Sure.
Because that's really what CFO need. When you're getting down these turrets, it doesn't give KT as much access to the map, and you can make plays like this.
Styles impact, Satchel Charge stops it. That does mean the Satchel can't be used on the tower.
But it also, again, it's about getting this deeper vision. So as KT look to contest objectives, they're not throwing these like long-range bubbles through the walls that can then retreat, fall back step by step, and you have to constantly try and fight for that control back over the objective. If you can park yourself as CFO in front of it, you force KT to pull that trigger early, which is exactly what we just saw. That's not what KT want to do.
I mean, it's just kind of such an interesting set of compositions, right? Because KT's comp really is all or nothing, right? You hit everything, you hit that sleep into the Mega Inferno Bomb, all of a sudden CFO can do nothing. You miss all those early spells and get hard engaged on, all of a sudden you're not really putting out any pressure either on that front line, and Cuzz is 1.3k gold behind. This Viego really needs that first reset, and there's not any like point and click. You're not paired with a Syndra, an Annie, an Ahri, anything like that. So it's, again, it's just everything is, does your poke land?
Oh my god! Oh my god, the Mega Inferno Bomb of Doom, and JunJia overstepping Peter with a great double pulverize onto the backline, and everything hits this time. Rest tries to dive in, but is put to sleep, and all he'll see are nightmares of KT. A triple in the end for deokdam, another sleep landing, and the chase comes out from Perfect and from deokdam! HongQ is not done yet. Cuzz will chase him down. A heartbreaker, a stake through the heart of CFO as KT win out the fight.
It's a taster of what CFO could have, but it's KT who are once again cooking CFO over an open pit. The amount of gold and nourishment they're getting out of this roster is insane right now.
I mean, we just got to see what the two different fights look like. The abilities hit, and there is not a lot you can do. Look at this beautiful sleep into the Mega Inferno Bomb, into the Paddle Star, everything timed perfectly there. We're gonna call it the Mega Inferno Bubble. That was looking clean. And with him gone already, BDD, he's looking like he's got an aimbot. He's just point and click.
Peter caught with a tempered fate. And that cow might be going golden, but he is going to get skewered by CFO. The Otacon next. TP's coming out as CFO try to up the tempo. TP out from Perfect as well as KT are going to call for a fight of their own.
You've got to wait for BDD. This wall could be devastating, but he's so far away. The ultimates are flying, but Otacon is going down.
HongQ already down to half HP. Perfect with the decimating smash doesn't land it. The Otacon should be secured here for CFO. They get it. The sleep lands, but only onto Rest. Will KT continue to chase, or will they accept that this fight is not for them?
Fantastic play from CFO. They get the pick and they just force their hand, immediately start the Otacon, rush it down. Don't allow KT to get set up. KT's comp is so weak when they're late to the fight.
And this is the scrappiness we were talking about for CFO. They don't want to give up the area. Dragon's there.
Oh, the damage onto HongQ, spiraling despair though, into the net! And down goes BDD. Cuzz on the backline gets the reset. He possesses that Hwei, and the chase continues. Dives across the wall. Spectral Maw doesn't get the stun. JunJia trying to retreat. Deokdam looking for that satchel. Another stun's going to land. And Rest has the flank. Doggo's there as well. JunJia falls. And now the Skarner taken away by Cuzz. Rest trying to get in, locked against the wall. And Kaiwing and Doggo leave him for the KT Wolves. They'll get the kills. They'll clean it out. And will they turn their eyes towards the Drake? They'll do that and take mid.
CFO tried to salvage the play with Doggo and Rest running as fast as they could, but it's KT who are pouncing on JunJia and finding the kills they need to turn the play back.
I mean, it feels like it was just 2 or 3 minutes ago that we were talking about Cuzz being down 1.3 gold. He got 7 kills in a row and now is up nearly 2K on this Viego. He is a problem. Has the entire LDR purchased up. They just moved towards Soul Point as well. This play to start it off, though, was really nice from Doggo. As BDD goes over the wall, he almost one-shots him, but he goes back into the root. You got the 90 caliber net hitting him, takes him down with that headshot. But Cuzz is such a problem. We talk about the lack of consistent damage. Doesn't feel like they have that anymore.
HongQ's
the timing!
Decimating smash against the knockup. They don't kill the tower. Mega Inferno will go down as well. As HongQ takes a drive to his demise. And now KT can look for more. BDD with a paddle star doesn't quite clip JunJia. CFO back away.
Perfect timing on that decimating smash was just that. What a beautiful play. Catches HongQ as he pops out of the Herald there. Peter follows up. That's the carry down.
And it was unnecessary. You didn't need to take that ride. HongQ thought maybe he could get it, but the tower doesn't even fall off the back of it. It is a stiff breeze away from falling. But KT, when CFO find their hope, they snuff it out so fast.
And the pedal difference is pretty significant, though. You have to look over at CFO's side. It's about 2,300 gold in their favor as far as adaptive stats. So the gold lead lies to you a little bit, but still, it is KT getting further and further ahead, nearly 4,000 gold up. 3.5 minutes until CFO is going to have to try to make their last stand. It really feels like it's all about the setup at the Dragon, because if KT are there first, it feels almost impossible to walk in. But likewise, if CFO are there first and you're trying to walk through a Hwei, you're trying to walk through this trap line, the poke is never going to come. So it's all about who can get that setup, who can control vision. And right now, it's been KT with the pushing waves, and it's them getting the much easier setup.
BDD pushing in this top side on his signature pick. This Zoe lost on it back in 2022. Has only played it once since then, but averages about 75% win rate on the champ all time. So often we see KT having it banned against them. For HongQ, he'll be looking like the last couple of fights have gone well. Couple of good spiraling despairs. I don't think he's had a series where he would say he's shone, but he can do it. We have seen him so many times come back from poor series, from poor games, and within that same game actually accelerate himself to victory.
And the spiraling despairs have been so crucial, not only for getting some of these picks, but getting those slows are crucial to enabling JunJia and Rest to get into these fights. So if you can find them, that can be the difference maker, that little bit of a slow that enables CFO to close the gap.
And we got to remember, KT, this team that is synonymous with heartbreak, that is synonymous with these devastating losses, is now potentially one fight away from sealing the deal on their first ever World Semifinals. BDD, the only player on the team to ever make World Semis, and they're looking for a pick on Rest.
He's trying to tunnel away, but Peter uses the minion line to try and get himself towards it. There's the knockup, there's the trample, there's the drowsy, and there's Rest sent to a coffin. The CFO will use this time to push in the mid lane, though, take a tower of their own, can chase forward a little bit further. They do have cannon minion here, acing the hole onto Deokdam. Now they retreat because KT are collapsing.
But you still have BDD pushing to that bottom side, so CFO, they're not able to get the tier 2. It would be BDD who's able to pick up that objective, but CFO...
Flash from JunJia, Impale doesn't connect, but the damage onto Cuzz will stick. Meanwhile, on the backline, Doggo has to retreat. Kaiwing doing the same, perfect still, just standing as a meat wall in front of CFO. JunJia's gonna fall first, BDD gets HongQ, and now KT can smell their victory.
BDD arrives and CFO dies. The Baron is next on the table here. They are crushing this fight. CFO got picked off in the side lane, tried to force their hand, but KT make the collapse happen. And not only do they get that, they got the tier 2 bot, they get the Baron, they get everything.
And on this composition that feels like it is unique to KT, this Zoe and Ziggs, they're hoping they can burst it down. They should be able to do so, as Rest was there. But KT, this is beautiful. And CFO have to try and make this play. They know they're losing, they know they're behind. So JunJia tries to go for the all-in, Cuzz escapes, but watch the damage. The knock-up from Perfect sets up Doggo and Kaiwing to take half their health bar off the Mega Inferno Bomb, and then KT follow.
Now, Peter for player of the series, man. He
100%.
headbutts away the impaling JunJia so it doesn't connect, and then Cuzz can rejoin the fight. It's just been sublime from him every game.
I mean, he's absolutely smurfing. That Ziggs ult had to be 3,000 plus damage between the 3 people that it hit. Like, that was crazy. BDD arrives, snipes another one. He's got death cap completed now. 2 seconds until the potential last stand here of CFO. Can JunJia come up with another hero steal?
Rest is in the top lane, pushing in for that tier 2. Does have the teleport and will use it. The Drake down to 9,000. BDD looking to see if he can find a sleepy trouble bubble. Lands it onto Rest. He can't join the fight. Tempered Fate on the backline. Paddlestar just short. Dragon down to 4k. As KT look for the soul and knock back onto JunJia. And again, it's Peter who keeps the enemy jungler at bay. Rest dives in, but the rest of his team are distracted by the cow. Now they're chased in with an unstoppable onslaught. And if that's not a name for how KT have played this series, I don't know what is. Unstoppable from KT as they march down CFO and look for the semis.
No one expected KC to be one of the teams that could push themselves forward, but at semi-finals in their eyes, their curses may be damned in this position.
For the first time ever, KT looked ahead to the World Semifinals.
And with only Kaiwing left to watch, CFO will be eliminated. A valiant stand from them. A valiant stand for the LCP, but today is KT's day. Kaiwing can do nothing but watch as KT take the Nexus towers. The Nexus next, the KT coaster keeps on climbing. For the first time in history, KT are going to semis.
And what an incredible run.